Welcome to Nevertheless Weekly Podcast by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a podcast dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your purpose and live powerful.
Hi, my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Welcome to Nevertheless, a podcast dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. It's a great pleasure to bring this your way. It's Thursday afternoon in Lagos and it's raining as I record this podcast. This is the second most important thing I do on Thursdays. The first thing I do on Thursday mornings is to go into our discipleship class and submit to God to just learn at His feet. And today we had a really great time in God's presence. We learned a lot from the book of Genesis 23. If you ask me, my walk away from Genesis 23 is to live my life today with the future in view, and that's what I learned. It's also a holiday in Lagos, so it's a work-free day, but somehow at BMM we had to be at work because we need to go about our master's business. Like I said, this is Nevertheless, and my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. I'll be right back.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insight and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back to Nevertheless. Last week we looked at the 5 laws of winning relationships, but I remember that I started that podcast telling you about a book I read a few years back, how the book impacted my life. The book 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. Very good book. If you have not read it, I recommend that you take a look at it. It puts life in perspective and the things you get to do when you are blessed with life in perspective. On that podcast, we took a look at 5 laws, and I remember that I mentioned that laws are irrevocable. So this is not a suggestion. These are the 5 things you want to do so that you can have winning relationships. Our first law was that everyone needs to recognize their midwives. Do you recognize the people who God has placed in your life who holds the instruction for your next level? You need to take the time to look for those people and to recognize them when you see them. The reason why you want to recognize them is there is a way you treat the people who hold the key to your next level different from the way you treat every other person. Yes, you must treat everyone nicely, but when these people hold the key to your next level, you want to treat them especially nice. So yes, you want to learn how to recognize your midwives. The second law was big picture. You must know what the big picture is. What is it that in this relationship or collaboration we are trying to achieve together? What's the big picture? Where do I plug in? Where does the other person plug in? Our third law was you must recognize the value proposition. That is, know what you bring into the group, into the relationship. Know what the other person is bringing. Because here's the point. If you don't know what your value proposition is, the tendency is you will not give the right honor, you will not give the right respect, you will treat things a lot more carelessly. But when you understand the value proposition, that's the impact that whatever you're building with these people together will make. The likelihood that you will transact a lot more thoughtfully is there. The fourth law was that every one of us should come and remain in our strength zones. No pretenses. Don't come trying to be someone else. Just come, be comfortable in what you carry and what you bring, and transact based on that strength. You always would look at what you have and think, oh, this is really small, nobody needs it. But you'll be amazed how that little thing you have is what will make a big difference in the lives of other people. Our final law, or law number 5, was the bottom line. We said that you must know what the bottom line is. What is it that we want to achieve? relationships. Everyone has a bottom line. And the idea is, if you come into a relationship with me, but you don't know what my bottom line is, and my bottom line personally is people, the tendency is you want to transact with me like someone whose bottom line is money. And that may not work well for our relationships. So that's a recap of the 5 laws of winning relationships. We've had, especially on Facebook, a ton of feedback, and I want to encourage you to always not just listen or just download for yourself. You can send the link to your friends. That's how you help me do what I do, by spreading the joy around. So please send me a message, introduce it to your friends, get their feedback, send me a message and say, this is what my friends say about Nevertheless. I'd love to hear from you. Last week we also debuted on PFA Radio, that's Praise from Africa Radio in the United States. We decided to come together to collaborate with PFA Radio to bring Nevertheless to you every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Nigerian time, and every Wednesday evening 6 p.m. Nigerian time too. Yesterday I had the opportunity of downloading the app and I listened, and it was beautiful. I want to enjoin you, if you're in Europe or you're in the US, to just download the PFA Radio app and listen it Mondays and Wednesdays. Of course, Nevertheless is not the only program that is on schedule on PFA Radio. They have a lot of inspirational messages and music, worship music, and I think that you would recognize that it's a good thing when you get to listen to it. When I come back, we'll go on to today's topic. Please don't go away.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA, Destiny Navigational Application, is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you, or call 234-813-360-2883, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmodi.com to place your order now.
Welcome back. It's still Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and I'm still excited that I'm bringing this your way. Today we are going to be veering off our series on relationships. We've done over 6 weeks or thereabouts on relationships, and the feedback has been huge. A lot of people have sent me messages to say, oh, this has blessed me, this has changed the way I look at relationships. But before I go into before I veer off, at least for a while, from relationships, I want to leave one final tip with you. Never slam the door on a relationship when you are in transition. Never slam the door on a relationship when you are in transition, because that door, you may need it to come back through to the other side. So you don't want to be that person who slams the door and makes it impossible for you to come back and knock on that door, because you need to go through to the other side from that or through that door. So yes, that's our relationship tip of the week. Do not slam doors when you are leaving a relationship or you are transitioning from a relationship. Today's podcast is going to be focused on the art of problem solving. The art of problem solving. The art, A-R-T, of problem solving. Why do I need to talk about problem solving? Because I've had a lot of people say to me, oh really, I want to live a life of purpose. I know that I've been called on purpose. I'm here to do something, that only I can do and all of that. But then they close with, but what? How do I know that this thing? Some people say, oh, I'm gifted in 5 different ways. How do I know which one of them is my purpose? So I decided to say, okay, let's look at it. What is the greatest gain of living life on purpose? And in my book, the greatest gain of living life on purpose is an ability to solve problems. Is there a scripture for this? Oh yes, my foundational scripture of all time, Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. God said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. Now, if you understand the word replenishment, and part of this teaching from this podcast today is taken from my book, Destiny Navigational Application. So you want to check it out. It's on Amazon. I'm sure you'd love to read it, because it's a book that's packed with principles on how to live your best life on earth now, using your gift and the resources that God has given you. So yeah, the art of problem solving. I was talking about replenishment. What does it mean? The word replenish in the Bible is a word that God used, when he was talking to men, and he said, okay, I want you to go into the earth and replenish it. And I usually come from the angle of, if God says something needs replenishment, then it must be that thing had broken down. So the earth is falling apart is the way I like to say it. And God looked and said, okay, how can we block this? How can we not improve on the earth? How can we restore the earth to its proper order? And God decided that, okay, one of the greatest ways to get that done would be to replenish the earth. So when we say that replenishment is key, it means to key it to today's topic, it simply means that God wants us to solve problems. Because replenishment is a problem, or a need for replenishment speaks about a problem. When it says, oh, I need you to replenish that pot of water, it means that the water had run out, which means that there is a problem of a lack of water. So there are so many things on earth today that are lacking. Morality, oh geez, there's a lot of decadence out there. A lack of integrity is huge. People have a lot of poverty that they are grappling with. Sickness, pain, disease, discouragement, depression. These are all things that happen because man had somehow gone away from transacting the way that God had ordained originally. So God, in answer to the problem of replenishment or the issue of replenishment, created you and me and put us on earth, and he gave us just one mandate, and the mandate was simple: you go on and replenish the earth. Now when you understand from that perspective, or you take off from the perspective that the earth requires replenishment, which means the earth has problems and that need solving, then you begin to understand that you are not on earth to do nothing. You are on earth to contribute your quota to the replenishment of that earth. Do you still want to find out how all of this ties into your purpose? Then you want to take time out. Just stick around, because I'll be right back.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragements, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insight and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. We're still looking at Nevertheless, and I said that we're looking at that we want to take off from the point, or from the perspective that God has called us to replenish the earth. Ultimately, that scripture ends in Genesis 1:28, ends with dominating the earth and subduing it, which means that when you replenish the earth, or when you solve the problem of lack in the earth, lack in whatever facet or classification you'll find it, what usually will happen is that you become a king or a ruler in your piece of the earth. But how do I now tie this to purpose? Because I said that we're looking at the art of problem solving. That's the greatest, or the purpose lived at its highest level is an ability to solve problems. So what problem will you solve? What problem will I solve becomes the question. But here's the thing. Not every one of us is called to solve the same problem. So I am called to solve the purpose problem. That's my problem. That's the question I'm answering to. But other people have other things that they've been called up to. But I'm saying that generally, instead of wondering or being frustrated or going from one pillar to the one post, not sure, you want to look at the problems that you can solve and begin to take off from there as, okay, if I can solve this problem, peradventure is my purpose. So you need to recognize that you are here to solve a problem, because except you do that, then you cannot fulfill mandate. Purpose is an ability to solve problems. But how do I solve a problem that I have not defined? That's a great question. So for you to recognize the question you want to solve or the problem you want to solve, you must be able to define that problem properly. And I usually tell people that you cannot define a problem that you have not experienced. In all of my life, I've gone through some hard times. I've gone through times of sickness and disease. I've gone through heartbreak. I've gone through pain. But none of this in my equation is as heavy as the years that I lived without recognizing purpose, without discovering what God put me on earth to do. And why that is one of the biggest things that I say I have suffered is because my not understanding or recognizing why God put me on earth made me subject myself or allow myself to be subjected to situations and circumstances that I clearly now know that I'm better than. What that I'm trying to explain is purpose is big for me personally and is a problem I have committed my life to solving, because I recognize how when I didn't know my purpose, it was very easy for me to be abused. It was very easy for me to submit myself to being abused. It was easy for me to abuse myself. Simple reason, I didn't know why I was here. So you want to define the problem. You want to ask yourself, what can I solve? What is the problem that asks me? What is the thing that upsets me the most? But here's the thing. For you to be able to define that problem, there is something else you need. You need to ascertain what you've been given. If you've been following this podcast, you would probably have heard me say a number of times that God breathed upon man in Genesis 2 verse 7. A man became a living soul. I always explain that breath of life that God gave unto man is the essence of God in us, or the ability or the gifting that God put in us so that we can replenish the earth. So you want to ask yourself, what are the things that I'm given? What are the things that I have been given? What are the things that I have been given? You want to ask yourself that. What have I been given? Because when you know what you've been given, then it will help you distill that into a skill or a resource or something that now begins to answer to problems. So what have you been given? Again, I have been giving words. This morning in the discipleship class, someone said, can I say compassion is what I've been given? And I'm like, yes, because talking to you, coming from, talking to someone who is not exactly classified as very compassionate, and that's me. Compassion is a gift. So yes, you can be gifted with compassion. You can be gifted with an ability to turn money around. You can be gifted with an ability to help other people. There's so many things that God gives us with. But for you to be able to live or to solve problems, which means you're living your life on purpose, the second thing you want to recognize is, what have I been given? The third thing you want to also recognize is you need to determine how what you've been given can be deployed. You need to determine how what you have been given can be deployed. How can it be deployed? I've been giving words. So how can I deploy words? I deploy them through writing. I deploy them through speaking. I deploy through teaching. But more than that, I deploy words even in helping other people deploy their words. So I become the wordsmith who helps other people capture their words and put it in messages that would bless or replenish the earth. So you want to determine for yourself how what you've been given can be deployed. And, I was thinking about it and I said to myself, what if you have distilled or you've distilled or determined how your gift can be deployed, but you don't have the tools to deploy it? Then that's the time to begin to think maybe you want to collaborate with other people. But that's the point I'm going to come back to. Number 4 is develop whatever you have been given. After recognizing how to deploy it, you want to develop it into a skill, or you want to develop it into a service or a product or a tool, because questions are answered or problems are solved by tools, skills, resources. You get what I mean? So when you find out what it is that you've been gifted and you have ascertained for yourself how that thing can be deployed, then you now go through the grind of working it. You begin to get it done. You begin to develop it. You begin to align with the principles so that you can develop it either into a skill, a service, a product, or a tool. Then when you distill it and you now have a skill, a product, or a tool, I now come to the point of collaborate, because everyone doesn't need to be an originator. So it's not, this is what I've been called to do, I must do it alone. How about lend that gift to another man's dream so that you can together birth what is missing or replenish the earth with what is missing. I like to give the example of, I'm not a very compassionate person. Keep praying for me, okay? Maybe I'll get there one day. But the reason is, and I'm not making excuses, I've seen a lot of hard life. And my thinking usually is, if it did not kill me, why should your own kill you? So why do I need to feel sorry for you? So somehow I don't have the capacity to feel sorry for people and to just baby and pamper people. Not in my genes, maybe prayer will bring it back, so you need to continue to pray. However, what I'm saying is, you need to collaborate with other people. So if I'm not a very compassionate person, or I don't know how to public display of affection is not me, I'm not soppy like that. I want someone on my team who is very compassionate, for whom you can come and cry on their shoulder, and they don't feel weird because you're doing that. Because what will happen if I have that kind of person on my team is that my team will be a stronger team than I'm just running around not very compassionate, and then there's no one in my team who is able to block that gap. Because compassion is a legitimate need that the people have. It's a legitimate problem that people want solved for them. But if I'm not wired like that, then I need someone on my team who is wired like that, who understands his or her position, and contributes that to the quota. The other thing that I want to say is that once you discover all of these things, then you must deploy it. Action is key in living a life of purpose. To be able to solve problems, you must act. Because you could be the solution, but until you speak up or you take action, those around you with the problems will never be able to recognize that you hold the solution. So you want to determine that, or you want to be sure that you take action. Use what you've been given. Volunteer your services. I talk a lot about volunteering because in our part of the world, a lot of people don't see volunteering as something. Everyone wants to earn money. But how about volunteering? What I know about volunteering is that every time you volunteer, you get better at what you do because you learn other skills. So volunteer your services. I mean, you are not able to start off at a particular level anyway. So why not volunteer your services somewhere where they are required and somewhere where they are needed. Secondly, when you volunteer your services, or you can also use your services for free. This means you start the thing by yourself, but you're willing to render that service or for free. Let no one pay you for it. What all of this does, it helps you build leverage. What does that mean? It begins to keep you in the mind and the eye of people as someone who knows how to get this thing done. So that when a time will come when they would need you, and then they will call for you, and they will be willing to pay you for that which you are doing.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA, Destiny Navigational Application, is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you, or call 234-813-360-2883, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now.
To backtrack, define your problem. Recognize that the earth needs replenishment. Define your problem. Recognize that you cannot define a problem that you have not experienced. One thing that I know about experiences is that they mean different things to different people. So even though I have gone through a lot in my life personally, purpose still tops it for me. A lack of purpose discovery tops it for me. So I take that as my clay. That's what I've been called to build with, and that is what I'm trying to build. You want to ascertain what you've been given. You want to determine how it can be deployed. You want to develop it into a skill. You want to plug it into what other people are doing peradventure, and then you also want to collaborate with other people. You also need to note a few things. The first one is that to live life on purpose, you must be consistent. You must be consistent. you must be consistent. This is not something you do ad hoc or once in a while. You can't be the expert at solving a particular problem when you only solve that problem once in a year. People have to know that you are that go-to person who they can come to every time, whether they are paying or not paying, and that problem will get solved. So you want to be consistent. If you ask me who in the Bible lived his life like this, I want to quickly say David and Joseph. Joseph stands out for me in the way he used his gift. Joseph had the gift of dreams, but that was just one of his gifts. The gift that helped Joseph use to replenish the earth was the gift of administration. So even though he had dreams, he had all other things, the one he plugged into and the one that the Lord used the most was the gift of administration, an ability to take a little and manage it in such a way that it yields great results. A lot of us don't know how to do that, but Joseph understood it. However, if you take a look at Joseph's life, you will recognize that he started from administration, from just taking food from home to his brothers. It was in the process of doing that he got thrown into the pits, and from there he got sold into slavery, and from there you found him in Potiphar's house. But even while he was a slave in Potiphar's house, he was still utilizing the gift of administration. And that tells me that if you really are serious about solving problems, it's not until you are paid to do it. It's not until it is convenient for you. It's not until the environment is conducive. You solve problems anyway. So Joseph was in Potiphar's house, became the administrator. Potiphar left everything at his disposal, and then before we knew what was happening, he got in trouble in Potiphar's house. But every time he got moved, he displayed a higher level of his ability to administer. Ultimately, he ended up as the prime minister of Egypt. And you will think, oh wow, great. But I found out that the problem that Joseph was called to solve was not so much the problem of storing up food during the famine as it was in preserving the lineage or the Jewish people. Because if you read Genesis chapter 45, I believe, you will see that Joseph said that God sent me here. He said, you sold me, but God sent me here. Perspective. You sold me, but God sent me here. So when he wasn't looking to revenge, exact revenge on his brothers because they sold him. Instead, he was looking for how he can preserve their lives, considering that there was a 7-year famine around the corner and things were going to be really rough. And that was how Joseph, because he was standing there, was the key to bringing the children of Israel into Egypt. All to fulfill the prophecy that God had given to Abraham earlier on in Genesis, that the children of Israel will be taken into slavery for about 430 years. So you find out that when you are adept at solving problems, nothing is usually the way it seems. You think that you are selling shoes. I say you are rendering the service, or you're solving the service of confidence. You think you are a makeup artist, and I'm saying no. You are helping women beautiful, and the moment they feel beautiful, then they act beautiful and they can act boldly, and then they can, in that same vein, now contribute their own quota in what God has called them to do. I can go on and on and on, but I want to stop and just let you know that purpose, like I usually define, is what you're good for. But you see, beyond what you're good for, you want to recognize that purpose that doesn't solve problems is not purpose. So if you are still confused about how do I discover my purpose, how do I know this is my purpose and all of that, you want to say to yourself, what problem can I solve? Till next week when I'll come your way again, this has been Nevertheless, and my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Never forget that when you discover purpose, then you can live powerful lives. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast by Bidemi Mark-Mordi. We would love to hear from you. For more information and resources, visit www.bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget, when you discover your purpose, you will live a powerful life.